Chocolate. Just the mention of the word conjures up a whole array of flavors, feelings, and fantasies even. Remember Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? Did you know the Germans consume the most chocolate? That's 11 kilograms per person every year. But the origins of the dreamy dessert are far away from Europe. The cocoa tree is actually native to the Amazon rainforest. Let's take a look at the top cocoa producing countries in the world. First up, the biggest cocoa producing country in the world. The Ivory Coast is a tiny West African country that produces more than 2 million tons of this magical bean every year. It's responsible for nearly 40% of the world's cocoa supply. The country's economy is heavily dependent on the prices of this crop. Even though it produces most of the world's cocoa, it doesn't really produce much chocolate. Much of the produce is exported to Europe, where it's processed into the chocolate bars we consume. Big companies like Cadbury and Hershey buy their raw materials from here, but local entrepreneurs are slowly catching up. Small business owners in Ivory Coast are beginning to invest in the production of chocolate pralines, cocoa butter, and even innovative products like chocolate tea and beer. So if you're looking to try a chocolate bar from that country, look for the Chocolatier Ivoire by Sako Superfoods. Up next is another African nation, Ghana. The Ghanaian nation is responsible for some of the best quality cocoa anywhere in the world. Quality is one thing, they've also got quantity on their side. The Ghanaians produce a staggering 800,000 tons of the bean every year. Cocoa is a pillar of the country's economy and accounts for almost 1/3 of its export revenue. And the perfect weather conditions ensure that each year's crop is more robust than the previous. While the Ivory Coast produces far more in terms of quantity, the quality of Ghana's chocolate is unmatched. It's well known for high-quality beans that are able to get a premium price in the world market. This is because of the country's stringent grading system that only takes top-notch beans from the farmers. Try 57 Chocolates from Ghana. It's a high-end brand that makes bite-sized chocolates with local flavors and symbols, and they look like art. Not to mention, Indonesia is giving some tough competition to the African nations. Indonesia wasn't always a big producer of cocoa, but it now stands as the third largest producer globally. The archipelago produces more than 700,000 tons of cocoa beans every year. The South Asian nation may be on the other side of the planet from Africa, but the climatic conditions make for a fruitful crop. The country has almost 2 million hectares of plantations, but one island alone accounts for more than 3/4 of the total production. Much like Ivory Coast and Ghana, Indonesia doesn't produce many chocolate products. Instead, most of it goes to the United States and neighboring Malaysia and Singapore. An Indonesian chocolate brand that's made a mark on the international market is Krakatoa. Not only is it top-notch premium chocolate, but its Batik-inspired packaging is also absolutely stunning. Coming up is another country from Africa, Nigeria. The Federal Republic of Nigeria clocks in as the 4th largest producer, but they produce about half of what Indonesia produces, about 340,000 tons annually. Overall, the country's production numbers have been falling because they prioritized investing in oil over cocoa. Consequently, its share in world output has been on the decline. Nigerian cocoa beans are of the Forastero variety. This type accounts for about 90% of the produce. They're basically the ones that are used in most chocolate products. It isn't considered to be a very high quality, and these beans have an earthy flavor profile. Most chocolate bars we eat are made of this variety. Pod Chocolate is a bean-to-bar producer that's bringing distinctly Nigerian flavors to chocolate, including a jollof of rice-inspired bar. Would you try it? And now let's head to Ecuador in South America. This tropical nation is the 5th largest producer of cocoa. It supplies more than 300,000 tons of beans annually. The crop is important to the Ecuadorian people in terms of both history and economy. Even though Latin American countries account for only 4% of global production, it offers something very unique. The cocoa produced here is one of the most sought after by chocolate producers. It's called Arriba Nacional and is endemic to Ecuador. It's actually very rare and found only here and in Peru. Overall, about 70% of the supply of this fine aromatic type is from Ecuador. It has a lovely floral aroma and a complex flavor profile. The country produces a lot of regular cocoa as well, but the Arriba Nacional is truly rare and might even be going extinct. At last count, there were only 9 such trees in the country. And if you visit the country, don't forget to get some Toak bars. They claim to be the world's finest dark chocolate. Somehow, we can believe that. Following Ecuador is the Republic of Cameroon, also in West Africa. So far, it's safe to say that even though the cocoa plant originated in the Amazon, its modern seat of power is definitely predominantly West Africa. It produces nearly 300,000 tons of beans, making it the 6th largest supplier in the world. Most Cameroonian cocoa is grown and harvested by rural communities, and there are more than 600,000 farmers all over the country working in the sector. And just last week, the country recorded its highest production in 7 years, keeping up with the steady increase over the past 3 seasons. Sounds like good news for those small farming communities. We hear a mambo bar is what you need to get your hands on for a taste of Cameroon's unique red cocoa. Up next is the 7th largest supplier of raw materials for chocolate production, Brazil. Incidentally, Brazil is also the 7th largest country in the world. While it's still a big part of the economy, it used to be even more so. Currently, it accounts for almost 270,000 tons. Back in the 80s, this figure was almost 450,000 tons. The production dipped drastically, mostly because the prices of cocoa fell, and it just wasn't as lucrative to grow those trees anymore. The growing demand for beef also led to more land being cleared for grazing. And then there was the fungal disease called witch's broom that did some really bad damage. This same disease is also what caused Ecuador's rare Ariba Nacional cocoa tree numbers to dwindle. And if you're bound to run into a Cacao Show chocolate shop in Brazil, it is considered the largest chain of fine chocolates in the Latin American country. Let's look at the Sierra Leone now. One of the top 10 producers of diamonds, Sierra Leone is 8th on our list of top cocoa producing countries in the world. Agriculturally, rice is more important to the economy, but the country has taken its cocoa production seriously. To improve the living conditions of local farmers and maximize profits, the coastal country invested in a cocoa processing plant that can process up to 4,000 tons. As a result, its exports have gone up exponentially, especially with Malaysia, Belgium, and the Netherlands. As part of this effort, Organic Africa has been producing organic premium chocolate since 2019. Up next, from the western region of South America, is the Republic of Peru. The country may be at the bottom of the top 10 producers of cocoa, but it definitely produces one of the finest there is. The Peruvian nation produces a little more than 160 tons. But the Peruvian Amazon contains a wild genetic diversity of cocoa that is rare. The country has also been able to cash in as the world's leading producer of fair trade organic cocoa. More than 100,000 families across the country make their living this way. Peru is considered one of the high-quality, fine-flavor cocoa producers globally, and cocoa export has witnessed considerable growth over the last few years. As the demand for organic, fair trade produce grows, we could see more and more cocoa from Peru on our shelves. For a taste of organic Peruvian chocolate, try Elemento. Founded by 2 cocoa enthusiasts, the brand works with local communities to produce its bars. And lastly, there's the Dominican Republic in the Caribbean. The country mainly produces organic beans and fine-flavored cocoa. Almost 40% of this is exported to the top premium markets. It only produces about 77,000 tons of the bean every year. About 150,000 hectares of the country's land is dedicated to cocoa cultivation. Additionally, there are more than 36,000 farms in the country that exclusively produce organic cocoa. And if you want to try Dominican Republic cocoa, which is famous for its zingy and fruity flavors, try looking for a mocha bar. You won't be disappointed. Looks like there's going to be a bigger demand for organic cocoa in the future, but we're happy to note that there's still lots of cocoa being produced to feed our cravings for all things chocolate. We can't even begin to imagine a world without chocolate. That's a wrap for this video. Have you tried any chocolates from these cocoa producing nations? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.